explain yourself about your journey through the time periods until now. Like, I know we know you're a big person, but was this always the same thing, or has there been some kind of influence that made you choose textile fields, sir?
See, I'm not a big person, but yes, I did my textile, let's say, way back in 1988. Say, and I think, whether probably some of the people will be not be willing to acknowledge, but I think today or even during that time, 3 decades ago also, there were some disciplines which was sought after, and some disciplines of engineering which were not so sought after. That was there, that will be there. There will be variations because, like our time, there is no computer science. But then obviously the sought after engineering fields was mechanical, electronics, electrical. But yes, my rank was not that much to get those, let's say, disciplines. So I got textiles, and that's where I landed up with textiles. So I will not be saying that yes, I was willing to do textile, passionate about textiles, and neither I had any idea about what it is. So that's why I entered the textiles. Then probably from textiles to garments, my post graduation probably which will be organic growth, I will say, because then once I was there already in textiles, and then NIFT was just set up. I was the second batch from NIFT to do the garment manufacturing technology. Yes, that force was again a sort of support during that time when I, after doing my PhD, and we worked in the industry for 3 years, mostly in Europe. Then I joined back NIFT because again it was an experimental decision. So I wanted to experiment with can I do something in academics probably.
And this with year was it?
1993, I joined NIFT as a faculty member.
30 years.
Yes, because I think I was the only, not I think, because I'm the first alumni to join back NIFT as a faculty. Now, it's a very big number of alumni who work for NIFT and contribute in the national building. But yes, I joined back, and then probably I liked what I was doing. And that's how I'm stuck till now, as you say very rightly, that 32 years is a not small time. But I enjoyed it because during a time during those time, NEFT was very, very close with industry, and we used to do a lot of, like our students used to do a lot of projects, and we were quite deeply involved in those kind of projects. So it was actually solving industry problem kind of institute. And I will say during that time, the faculty members are not so keen on pure R&D because there's no scope for that. Neither labs were there, nor industry was ready for that. Gradually, I think we developed an R&D institute also, so we did a lot of fundamental research and to probably get back to industry. And that's how I think, if you say the decades journey, the 3 decades are already, or just my retirement, and that's how probably I would say that my journey is there. I was always in touch with all the alumni, and because I think they provide the critical feedback from the industry that what is happening, which direction it is going, and that is necessary for. I think as a teacher also, which if you can, you know, contextualize those in your teaching, I mean, the teaching becomes literally interesting for the students. They feel, yes, they are industry ready kind of scenario. Because that's what I'm trying to do always. But yes, there always can be better ways of doing that. And that's what I'd say. I will say that's summarize my studies.
Sir, and have you seen some kind of large core shift in the textile fields, sir, in the last 30 years due to the coming in of new fashion trends like slow fashion, fast fashion? Do you think that there's a fundamental change
I think when you say fundamental change, yes, I think even 20 years before, people have not heard of, at least this part of the world, people have not heard of what is called sustainability because I remember once upon a time you used to call garment industry as a clean industry and used to promote garment industry as a environmentally clean industry. Now suddenly after 20 years, the context has changed. Now this is one of the most polluted industry because the whole concept of solid waste, whole concept of recycling, whole concept of this carbon footprint and all those things are not part of because then probably people are thinking the corner in the world always there where you can dump and get rid. But now the people have realized there is no corner left in the world, everything is exposed. So everybody is concerned that, I will not let my garden to become a dump here. And because of that, this concept of, all the sustainability, that I would say a big change because that is actually, I would say, the mm, counter globalization because globalization actually is going to create this kind of scenario in the long run. So that's the reason probably you'll see a lot of Brexit kind of initiative, if we say, which is actually counter globalization. So that is going to happen because somewhere people say that we're going to promote sustainability because we are actually working close to cycle. For now, it is a big cycle. If to complete the loop, probably you need to traverse multiple continents. And if that can be done within one country or maybe one city, always it is better. The smaller the place, the better.
Yes, regarding this point, I also saw the post you made regarding taking your own cup for the flight, sir.
Yes.
I mean, that was kind of inspirational. The small efforts also do matter.
Yeah, because that was actually, just an again experiment. I love experimenting. So I thought, let's see what I was contemplating, but I was thinking what they will think. Because yes, that there was, I wrote, I have not elaborated what it was. They have not been keen to give that. They wanted to pour first to the paper cup and then wanted to pour in that cup. Because anyways, the one cup is waste. Yes, they could understand finally and they laughed and gave it to me. Yes, always, the first stage is always very difficult. But yes, probably it will become a norm. I know about two international airlines who are asking their first class and business class passengers to bring their own cutlery. So it is not only a cup because they are going to, I don't know how heavy or big it will be to carry your own cutlery. But yeah, that's what I believe there's because I don't know about what airline it is, but I heard that something is going on with that. It's not like okay.
I mean, first tips always do matter like that somewhere.
Yeah,
Usually
because,
they come to things.
yeah, once upon a time when I was in school, I used to not say school, but probably my next 5 years, the people used to carry a water bottle in the school. People used to carry water bottle everywhere. When you used to go the train travel, you used to carry a water bottle. But then it becomes those distilleries and whatever the people thought, why to carry unnecessarily luggage and then when you can buy and throw, use and throw disposable, those words the point during a time. And then again, people are again back to carrying their own water bottles everywhere. That's become a fashion now. Yes, water bottles has become little fashionable,
Yeah.
but that's become a fashion now. A lot of high-profile guys are now actually carry the water bottle to make a statement. It's coming back because but sustainability is a one big change probably, and then the fast fashion probably is I would say. I don't know how to take that because that's somebody in Zara probably has thought about because for the first time probably somebody used a word called garments also can be perishable because we think perishable is something which got stale like fruits, vegetables, like perishable commodity. And we always thought that garments is a non-perishable commodity because it will never stay. But probably they are the first time who actually coined the word perishable, and they associated the perishability with fashionable garments, and then they say this also has a life, so called in the mind of let's say, fashion conscious generation, and they're quite successful in that. But that time, probably they didn't realize that they can be counter sustainable. So when the people started using this as a model, repeated, then people now realize that this is not a good thing to do. And then suddenly there's a counter. But yes, it's going to take time. Because you see a lot of shame kind of people
Yes,
will come up within India also. And it go on for some years before the regulations actually stop. Otherwise, it will be very difficult because business sense always prevails.
Basically, I'm from Tripura, as you know, but the way I see fast fashion is that it has boosted the industry way faster than its time. Because I didn't expect the order to be delivered in 14 days. If you think of it, but before 2, 3 months, before 2 years maybe, it was something kind of a dream. But it's a new norm right now. So, do you think fast fashion actually boosts the technology in this industry, or how do you feel about that, sir?
See, again, the requirement is do we need a garment in 14 days?
Yeah.
Because is it necessary to do that? But that's again a big question. People are trying to probably, let's say, what do I say? Trying to go against the norms and trying to create something new. Obviously, that's that business. Any business will try to do. That's how probably this fast fashion, because that's what I just explained what Zara did.
Yeah.
And they were able to convince, but just because during that time sustainability was not there, then in the first place they would have been shot down. But because that has become popular and now people are emulating it, so now, let's say countering it is becoming a big battle between the two, and let's say, I will say the two rivalry group or whatever it is. But in fact, place itself, there's no why do we have such like Zara first did, breaking this seasons, and they say, every month, every 15 days, and probably somebody would say, I don't know what she said, probably every day or whatever. But the first question is, do I need that? Because the basic question of, let's say, apparel came from probably, yes, covering your body against the weather. So when the weather changes, then obviously we need different kinds of clothes. Then came probably the festivals and occasions. Now, the festivals and occasions was, let's say, religion centric or social centric or country centric. Then it become globalization has made so number of occasions is increased. And that's how probably gradually number of seasons also increased. The only thing is that, why do you need some garments in completing? Because you definitely will not run into a situation that your undergarments is not there and then you are ordering, when you are going to go out. It will always be there, so you can always wait. So this is an artificial creation of something new, and people love doing that. That's basically giving people an experience, and people really boast. Like they'll say, "Oh, I just ordered a shoe in 5 minutes." But first question that do I need to order a shoe in 5 minutes? What is the need? Because didn't I have shoes? I have definitely. So what was the necessity of how that requirement came? So going into that, I'm against this, But yes, it will go on for some time because and before then again, sustainability groups will become too heavy for people to probably counter and then they go back. Because once upon a time we used to have only two shoes. I'm talking about the men's, the one for the brown kind of for matching is one kind of trouser and then there's a black. Then came that okay, so there is a casual, there is a formal, so there is a sneakers. So one sneaker is for your playing or whatever, and then formal. Then within the sneaker category, now you have probably I don't know how many. There are hiking, there are
Yes,
walking, and then for every different kinds of play, there is a shoe, badminton separate, probably hockey separate. So it's like yes, there's a functional requirement there. That's I agree.
But does everyone who plays it require the functionality? That's the question.
Yes, yes. Probably would say to probably do it at that level, yes. But probably for a laser, probably no. But yes, how do you differentiate between a laser and it's very difficult. Like I play badminton probably every day to keep myself fit. Then the question is, do I need to wear a badminton shoe for that, or a simple walking shoe is going to work for me? But it probably gives me a better feeling because I don't need a badminton shoe because I'm not actually playing in that level. But yes, the marketing people obviously always wanted to give you all the reasons why you need a badminton shoe, even if you are paying for laser. And I think in badminton shoe also there are different categories for
Yes.
laser, for pro. It's like, the game is endless to say. How exactly you convince your consumer to do that. But yes, behind the whole story is that, how much material you have, like materialistic society, like probably the question someday will ask how many shoes one person can have.
I mean, that numbers keep changing all the time.
Yeah, because maybe whether the maximum number will be 5 or maximum number will be 20 or maximum number will be 300. You never know.
Sir, I mean, I have this question whether if we do fast fashion right, sir, is there a way to do it right? And what are the technologies that will be needed to do it right? And is the industry ready for doing it right?
There two things. One is fast fashion in general, but might be in a large format. What Zara and H&M, Primark, and kind of people are paying. But yes, they're fast fashion, they're seeing, because the number of series are more, but they do procure their minimum order quantity, not very, very small to be called under, queue is less. Then there is also something called demand activated manufacturing that can provide the people are saying that you don't make and sell, you first sell and then make. So you have digitally created a product and you are showing that product, and then somebody will make it for you once somebody has bought it. That is becoming common, but that's becoming a common with a very negative connotation towards technology. See, there was a time when the garments, because if I can make a garment very quickly, and the maximum conversion time for a garment is actually sewing time. Cutting takes very least amount of time if you cut in bulk, but the sewing takes the maximum time. Some of the garments finishing time is again very less. Finishing means iron talking about. I'm not talking about the washing and jeans kind of garment. That's requires a different kind of time scenario. What I'm saying is typically for a garment which is cutting, sewing, finishing, cutting, sewing, ironing. Now, 80% of the time of this cutting, sewing, and ironing is sewing. Now, in sewing, there are different kind of systems there, which are actually catering towards different kind of volume scenario. Because if you have a large volume, same style, if you have a large volume, different kind of styles, then you have a small volume, but very quick turnover. So, but what is happening is the very quickest way of getting or sewing a garment is definitely a tailoring way, which technically we call making system, which is technologically the least you use least amount of it, because it's not possible to use technology for a make system. But it is the quickest way to sew and deliver. Because one person sews the whole garment. Doesn't use technology, but uses or that's the time usage is the fastest. And in most of the time, from the consumer eye, looking at a garment, you cannot make out that what system is being used to, what sewing technique was used to manufacture this. So taking this loophole, today a lot of quick delivery orders, so-called very fashionable terms like demand activated manufacturing or self-mandate manufacturing. A lot of big brands. Yeah, because a lot of big brands are also actually have separate platforms where actually they allow the manufacturer to upload their digital garments to their e-selling platforms or e-commerce platform, and the people actually, which are not physically being made and stocked. And once anybody buys it, and then they are claiming that they will be able to deliver in 48 hours, which probably in the so-called, let's say, high-tech, let's say, connotation, this probably people say, oh, this is something very improvement, innovation. But behind this innovation, if you see the technology which is being used, actually we have, rewind the clock back and gone 25 years before, and where you used to make this make-through system, which is actually against industrialization. That means I'm not using any principle of industrial manufacturing for doing that. So the question is, is it okay? Because which trying to give you the, in terms of efficiency, it is least. In terms of, let's say, quality possibility, it can lead to a lot of other quality problems. But people are doing it because only for the sake of time, and because people will not be able to catch that what system is doing. Because as long as it has been delivered in 48 hours, and at this point of time, it is not possible for any third-party inspection system to do that inspection. So because all the quality parameters have been enforced actually by a third-party inspection, or within the company also there is a separate who were enforcing that, you conform to quality. But today, because of this, it is actually a self-declaration of quality. So it is only at the hands of consumer that who will be able to tell whether it is a quality garment or not. So ultimately, you can argue that, if the consumer is happy, who am I, who is our QC to tell whether it's a quality or not? But in the long term, there are a lot of implication in terms of, let's say, lasting time in the garment or what.
So essentially, this kind of doing is not the right efficient way to use the operator.
Yes.
If, for example, you have said about Industry 4.0 also, but if we use that and if you do let's say a proper system with proper line balancing is there, and there's a single operator, is there a possibility to do the same operations in this line, sir?
Yes, because there are techniques used for actually small order quantity and all this thing that's called is modular system or this cloud testing system. These all exist but only thing is these are not being used. So rather using those kind of technologically advanced techniques where I can use technology and systems which are created for this. Rather, we are going back to the easy way of doing, which is purely on the individual skill. So it is basically the tailors who are stitching the garment. So that's actually making it come back in the Indian scenario, I will say, and especially because of this D2C brands and this demand activated manufacturing, so called, which is creating a little bit of disbalance in the manufacturing scenario today. So that I will say that fast fashion, effect of fast fashion on technology, and effect of, let's say, demand activated manufacturing on technology, and those kind of things.
It's actually taking a step back.
Yes, because now the demand is somewhere else, or the requirement somewhere else, and we are ignoring few of the facts, and that is encouraging people to go back. Because how the companies have become so structured and probably livable place or workable place is because of, let's say, last 3 decades of strict monitoring by the buying offices. Like how a factory was, there was a time that the garment manufacturing used to be called sweatshops. Probably have heard of this term or not. It's called sweatshops because people used to sweat it out to get the garment. From that concept, the people have made this garment industry a respectable industry where people love to work for. This was primarily done by the insistence of the buyers, because so that they can say that my garments are produced in a factory which follows all this, let's say, no child labor, no unnecessarily exploitation of worker. There's no too much of overtime and all those norms. Like they have a proper temperature control atmosphere. They have proper fire exit in this, so that it's safe. So all these things was not done by the companies themselves.
Yeah.
it was actually, the force by the buyer that if you follow these parameters, then only you will be able to produce for my level. And that has actually created our factories probably can compare to any other industries. That yes, the factories are very much workable, livable. I will not say because we are not living there, but yes, because it can be compared to any place to work for. But then that all this which has been built now, there are companies which are actually now all this also add to some cost to your, let's say, world. Now, suddenly, if there is another model which is actually trying to break this, so this creates a little bit of imbalance in the manufacturing scenario. Somebody who is buying it, and so for him, it doesn't really matter that where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So that's the reason it is actually creating a little bit of unhealthy competition.
Sir, and regarding, I'm just coming up again, but would there be a change, sir? Are you expecting some kind of change to happen in the recent years? Because as you said, now brand making is comparatively way easier than it was. Like, people are not looking for established brands right now to buy garments. They are just looking for the time period. Is it the customer mindset that needs to change, or is it the manufacturer who needs to change that? Or is it government that wants to interfere between those?
No, I think, if I look at from the manufacturing point of view, yes, they are under stress because of unequal demand. Like, for example, if you say that a manufacturer, he has a manufacturing unit. He can manufacture for a big brand like H&M. He can manufacture for a big brand like ABFRL or Orange. He can manufacture for a D2C brand which you have never ever heard of, who is doing through probably marketing through or selling through Insta or whatever. But the issue is that if all this requires same parameter, same compliance, then it is okay. Because ultimately, the guy who are buying this, whether is buying from H&M or from Insta, is the same generation of people who have the maximum, let's say, disposable incomes and doing that. Other than there will be very few in the, let's say, about 50 years category and whatever. So I'm ignoring this, where there's a major chunk of buying is happening. So in that scenario, I am buying a T-shirt, let's say, from a brand like Bepoof, and I don't, when I buy the garment, I don't clearly know that how it has been made. Now the problem is that when the manufacturer is making for Bepoof, and tomorrow I buy another garment which is probably a Van Heusen, again I'm the same consumer. Now when I bought Bepoof, and actually if I look back and actually trace, then how if the Bepoof was made, and if I trace that how Van Heusen was made, it was very, very different way. So if actually you will say that, okay, both are not competing with each other. But yes, I know that both are not competing, but there are also brands which are actually of similar, that they're competing with each other, but made in a very different scenario. That's where the D2C kind of brands which are trying to now invade, but they are not made in a structured industrial atmosphere, I would say, with compliant norms or not. People are probably has to, again, to answer your query that who is going to change or whatever. Probably industry will change at some time. Probably government will interfere to do that. The manufacturing lobby will probably raise questions. I don't see manufacturer, I see the consumer is going to do anything on that. Its consumer is never bothered anyhow, because a good probably reason why I'm saying that is there was an anticipation in the last, let's say, 10 years or let's 1/2 decades, that the new generation will be more sensitive towards sustainability and environment friendly and all such things. So the sustainability will be a big taker by the Gen Z. But if you see, it is actually a big shock for the brands to see now. Because if actually the new generation was sustainability concerned, then the brands like Sheen would not have been grown.
Yes.
So it shows that it still matters. What matters is the money or the price. So how exactly, whether again coming back to how exactly a consumer is going to react, whether because they don't know how it is being manufactured. And as long as I'm getting the quality, as long as when I'm wanted, and the price I'm going to pay for it, I am least bothered about that. Because there are few concerns people are trying to build in, like in abroad. There are, I don't know about India, because maybe in India also some labels, like some of the labels in UK, I know that they put miles in the tag. Like when you're trying to buy the garment, it is telling you that how many miles have you traveled. So to show that some garment, if I'm buying in UK, and if it is made in, let's say, Bangladesh, obviously the miles value will be higher because it is traveled far off from UK to reach in a store. And let's say some garment made in Morocco and Portugal, which will have a lesser miles. And it has been probably told to the customers in different forums or whatever, trying to encourage lesser miles.
So which directly is for the carbon emissions.
Which directly the carbon emission, which directly trying to encourage people to discourage import.
And making them better aware of the scenarios.
But is it really working? If it is working, then our export should be down. But in I don't know whether any study has been done or not. But people are trying to make it an effort to indirectly asking customers to be sustainability friendly. But whether that initiative is working or not, one big I've given you that this new generation and this kind of brands, because now people are saying that actually it did not work in the last 1.5 decade. Now how they're probably is going to work, or what will make them work, we do not know. So at least that is clear that new generation is least bothered about sustainability. They might be attending conferences and posting something, but in terms of buying their garments, they're least bothered.
As you check when it's recording. Yes, so you can pause.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a new take on it, sir. I just thought you would tell people would get more aware over the time, but thinking of it, that's not the case that has been till now.
As till now, yes, because people are still trying to understand that why. Because if you also understand, like when we studied in the school, there was not no subjects called environmental science. Today, every child in the school study a subject called environmental science. They have been taught all those steps, little steps, tap, pankar, po, and all such things are ingrained from the childhood, from the school education. So that's why the scientists or the economists has probably predicted this new generation will be a little more concerned, and that's how it is going to. Because it has to come from consumer. If they are not buying there, so obviously gradually the brands will go away. But what it shows that actually they will, it's the other way around because they are buying it. That's the reason these brands are doing very good. Temu, your Shein, and in India you have Zudio, you have Azote, and all these things are doing fantastic.
Yes.
So that shows that their talking and working is not same. They are telling something, but they're behaving in a different way. How to do that change, whether government regulation has to come or not, probably yes. Like what has happened in Europe, probably some kind of regulation will come, which should stop people to make, which should stop people to buy.
I think we could end our podcast here, sir, but I'll just have a few rapid questions if I'm from just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What fascinates you most in the industry? Just one word.
Fascinates is in Indian industry, if I say, the continuous, let's say, pursuit of evading and finding out a quick fix solutions. Our industry is very good at that. So jugaad, that's where to that. That fascinates me, and I've seen many such solutions people develop.
And when was your first experience at this jugaad kind of?
Oh, that's way back. And there are multiple cases I've seen during my working time itself. I've seen many jugaads. and all across India. It's not only people think it is the word started from North India, but yes, but you, even in South, I've seen during my working life, there are a lot of because quick hacks you can say that to do the things the way I want, to make my life easy. So that's. But India is very good at that. They don't give up.
I mean, I'm sure this is not the right question to ask you there, but still, which fashion trend do you like? Do you personally
What do you mean by fashion trends?
like? For example, minimalistic, those kind of
Yeah, meaningless.
many hobbies. I have seen you through it through the cameras.
Yes.
And is there a specific choosing of your garments there? Do you choose your garments specifically?
Specifically means yes, some brand I like. I generally I look at. It's very difficult to buy a garment because I can't find a garment which is absolutely perfect. Because most of the time, whatever garment I pick up, I find a flaw in that. But yes, I look at technically correct garment because not the aesthetic look, but it has to be functionally correct. But that's probably ingrained in my
Throughout the year,
throughout the years, so I can't get out of that.
So I mean, one last question there. Do you see fast fashion, like, do you see fast fashion growing, or is it going to be like an exponential curve and it's going to stop at some
No,
point?
I think we have almost reached the saturation. That's purely my take because generally it says that every cycle there is something called pendulum swing. Probably you're part of that. Because every trend it goes to an extreme and then comes back. So I think it's going to grow for a few more years definitely, and then it is going to have a comeback. It's still that time to become a lot of money, but after that it has to come back.
And do you see slow fashion slowly coming into the market? I mean,
Yes,
already coming in, but
it is basically it's not slow fashion or whatever. Basically more lasting garments and repairability index because probably you heard the term because even in India, I think in some products people have reinforced that I have to if I have made a mobile phone. There was a concept used to say in the few years back that obviously if something goes wrong, we don't go for repair. We know that it is repairing cost will be much higher than buying a new one. But now it is mandatory that your phone has to have a repairability index.
for phone work kind of thing, and you EU is also now embracing more.
So you already there, but in India, I'm very surprised to see. I think few in electronics goods. I think I just read that. So similarly in the garments also, there will be like lasting value of the garment that will become under a lot of importance. Like if I buy anything, I reuse it probably, and how many times I can reuse, and what different ways I can reuse. So those kind of things is going to go. So which will actually slow down the fashion. By saying slow fashion, nothing happens. But basically that R reduce, which is typically a very people did not use that R of multiple R's people used to use, recycling and but R of reduce people did not use, but that will come in the picture.
That's a completely new take, sir. Index of how much time to add it. That's a great concept, sir, actually.
Yes. Which will happen, I think. Yeah. How long? But I again, this my take is that we have almost reached another 5 years after that. Every brand will start.
I mean, there is already enough data for it, I think, because Washington test, everything is being done for the major brand. But I don't think so. No one has put these kind of indexes in their garments yet.
They have not put it in because they know that people used to make garment knowing that nobody will wash it for 50 times because our washing test criteria for most of the cases we used to follow is that it will last for at least 50 years or 60 years, or I think minimal 40 years because there's no garment which can ever made below 40 years. But probably if we look at it nowadays, no garment goes up to 40 years in most of the cases. Now there is another concept people are trying to make in that probably they will ensure that the garment will disintegrate after 10 years. There are some projects people are working on that, so automatically it will go for recycling. So that is fast fashion, but recycling. Problem is now the garments are made for slow fashion. Garments are designed to last longer, but the culture is not allowing, or culture is not for using it longer. So they go for this landfill, and in the landfill, so that lasting remaining years there. If I can create a garment, if I know that consumer is not going to wear more than 10 years, see if I create a garment that after 10 years automatically you start integrating, disintegrating, then why not? So I am pleasing both. I am pleasing the new age, let's say, consumer, and as well as I am happy, pleasing my sustainability critics. So few guys are also working on that aspect. So I don't know which one will become common. But that will be obviously costlier approach. But probably for the new generation, that is an approach. For the older generation, so who will be happy to wear a shirt probably and going from 100 to 150 wash. Because I have seen the 100 wash is not a problem at all. And actually, it still retains this, all aesthetic values or whatever. 100 wash is a good number. But people don't go for more than 15 wash.
Sir, this may be a vague topic, but still I'm go to it. Like I feel it's like a completely huge term to use, but this how much will it impact this industry, especially manufacturing industry? Until now, what I have seen of AI is I have just seen that it has just streamlined our systems. It hasn't done something using generative AI or something like that. It is just probably programs that have been used and named as AI. That is what I have seen there. But do you see that AI playing a major role in this industry?
Not say major or minor, but yes, it should play a role. But then I think somewhere we need to draw some lines in terms of and understand very clearly. That's the if you see some of my last posts in the LinkedIn, I'm trying to, because in the last few years I'm realizing, in the last year rather, I said not few years, people are actually been confusing between algorithm and AI, because so if I make a solution, not necessarily mean that uses a technology for AI, but because the other party, let's say, becomes very fascinated if I use AI in my solution. So without understanding, my value goes up. Like if I add a sustainability in my slide, probably my sustainability quotient goes up. Similarly, if in my solution offering, if I say AI enable something, now a receiver who is receiving this technology, who is using it, very rarely has that capability of actually questioning and saying that where exactly and how exactly you are using AI. You are claiming, but you are not. So that is the reason what is happening is people are, let's say, misusing the term AI for something. Sometimes probably people are wrongly using AI application where AI is not necessary to be used. If you see my last two posts, and I will keep posting that, because clarifying that where what can be used. Obviously, AI has a role in many areas, but because if you want a single word answer, where probably decisions you can make definable parameters, then AI is not required. When a decision is not based on definable parameters, it is a easy parameter, then probably we'll go for AI solutions.
So to provide a perspective, AI could be used for a decision it will be already made with algorithms. Is that the term?
Earlier, it was, people used to use algorithm, but very, very, in some specific cases where people could not use any algorithm, so those were not being addressed by any solutions. There, because where there is no algorithm can be used, where people used to use their knowledge and experience or whatever. That aspect can be replaced by AI. Good. But where already there can be let's say, algorithm or a formula or can be used, let it go till the time I hit a roadblock that yes, this is hitting a, let's say, a problem that I'm not able to use and some of the parameters is getting hazy. Then AI comes into the picture, because where a formula cannot be generated. As long as the formula can be generated, and in many cases it is simple formula will do. Probably if you use AI there, then basically the past bias is going to become your benchmark,
Yes.
which is wrong.
Huh.
But rather it should be the algorithm which should become your guide.
So I'll just sum it up for the audience. So
Yeah.
So what I have learned from this podcast is that the industry is tend to change and the customer would remain the same. Even if they would want to change, the industry is the one that needs to make the move first, and branding should be in a better way. And the interesting take of how much times the garment could be used. That is actually a new thing that I learned from this interview, and all the points you have said regarding AI and how have you, I mean, your journey is too big to sum it up for this interview. But thank you very much for your time, bro.
So thank you.